As abductions continue to terrorize nations like Kenya, Ibrahim Traoré, the bold president of Burkina Faso, has sent shockwaves across Africa with a fearless challenge to President Ruto of Kenya. Is Traoré's call to action the wake-up call Africa needs to stop the violence, or is it a glimpse into a new kind of leadership, one that refuses to ignore the suffering of its people? This video will change your beliefs about Africa and its leaders. Here, we would like to take a moment and thank you for supporting us and being a valued part of our strong community. And if you are not yet a member, we encourage you to join us and help build an even stronger community together. Let's get started. Across Africa, a troubling wave of abductions has spread fear and uncertainty among its citizens. In countries like Kenya, abductions have surged in recent years, driven by criminal syndicates, insurgent groups, and political unrest. This alarming trend has captured the attention of many, especially in regions already battling corruption, violence, and instability. The situation has escalated to the point where families fear for their loved ones and entire communities are left paralyzed with the anxiety of never knowing if they'll be the next target. In some cases, entire villages have been taken hostage by criminal gangs, and the abductions extend to political figures and foreign nationals, drawing international attention to the crisis. The kidnappers are often motivated by ransom demands or political leverage, using fear as a tool to manipulate the system. It's no longer an isolated issue. It's a continent-wide crisis that demands immediate attention and action.
I always refer to myself and the investigators as positive, paranoid psychopaths, the good psychopaths.
As kidnappings have soared, so too has the number of people coming to him for help.
I will not hesitate 1 second if somebody is trying to kill you, to take that person out. I believe that every person has a worth, and I will protect that person no matter what it takes.
With business booming, Mike now employs around 100 specialist investigators. In Maggie's case, his job was to stay in contact with the kidnappers and handle ransom negotiations.
They knew of our investigations. They knew that we know what was going on. They knew everything that we knew, and we knew everything they knew. But there's nothing we could do because they've got something in their possession which they can harm, which they will.
We thank South Africans that they've prayed for us.
After a week, Mike was able to negotiate Maggie's release, but the precise details of ransom payments aren't usually made public.
This unsettling trend is exacerbated by weak governance, corruption within law enforcement agencies, and the lack of infrastructure to address security challenges. The question now is, why is this such a massive concern for Africa, and what are the real consequences for its people? The consequences of these abductions reach far beyond the immediate victims. Families are torn apart, with loved ones held for ransom or subjected to unimaginable brutality. The psychological toll on survivors, witnesses, and communities cannot be overstated. Survivors of abductions often suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), and the community as a whole feels the long-term effects of these violent acts.
Survivors rarely speak out because of death threats, but Maggie wanted to highlight the devastating impact kidnappers have on their victims.
It has affected me so badly. I sort of panic easily. More than that as well, I am so paranoid now. I don't easily trust, If my kids, I don't find them on the phone, I panic.
Maggie's case was just one of dozens which
Trust in local authorities diminishes as people grow increasingly disillusioned with governments that appear powerless or unwilling to protect them. Families often face financial ruin, as ransoms are demanded that many simply cannot afford. In some cases, victims are held captive for extended periods, their freedom stolen, and their sense of safety shattered forever. The social fabric that holds communities together begins to unravel, and the ripple effects of insecurity extend into every aspect of life, from economic activity to education and healthcare. Parents are too afraid to send their children to school. Businesses are forced to shut down due to insecurity, and healthcare workers are unable to reach remote communities. This isn't just an issue of crime, it's one of national stability and the very foundation of what makes a society function. But if these abductions continue to spiral, who will step up to address the situation? And more importantly, what can be done to prevent further chaos? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. In the face of this growing crisis, one leader stands out: Ibrahim Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso. Traoré is not just another politician. He's a leader who's chosen to step up in the face of adversity. While many leaders seem detached from the struggles of their people, Traoré is actively engaging with citizens, listening to their concerns, and seeking solutions. His commitment to tackling issues like abductions head-on makes him a beacon of hope for many Africans who are tired of seeing their leaders only speak from behind their desks. He represents a new wave of leadership, one that prioritizes people over politics. Traoré's position is especially notable considering the political context of his leadership. He took office in the wake of instability and unrest, after the fall of the previous government. His focus on security, transparency, and accountability has won him widespread support, both from ordinary citizens and from fellow African leaders who are increasingly looking toward his model of governance as a template for success. With such a clear commitment to solving Africa's problems, it begs the question: what makes Ibrahim Traoré different from other leaders? And you need to know this to understand if Traoré can do anything about the abductions. What sets Traoré apart from many of his counterparts is his hands-on approach. He's not interested in empty rhetoric or superficial promises. He's focused on real, tangible outcomes for his people. His leadership style is based on direct engagement with citizens, prioritizing their safety and well-being above all else. Unlike many leaders who remain disconnected from their people's struggles, Traoré is on the ground, actively addressing security concerns and taking swift action when needed. His commitment to transparency and accountability sets a high standard for other leaders across the continent to follow. One of the key distinctions of Traoré's leadership is his openness to dialogue. In a region often plagued by secrecy and closed-door politics, Traoré frequently holds public forums, speaking directly to the citizens about their concerns and responding with practical solutions. His focus on making his government accountable and accessible to the people creates an environment of trust and mutual respect that is hard to find in many African nations. But what is it about his philosophy that resonates so strongly with the people of Africa? Why does his message hold such universal appeal?
How can you impose democracy by killing millions of people? It's a dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it. Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts. We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Perseus.
Traoré's message has struck a chord with many Africans because it speaks to their lived realities. While many African nations are struggling with insecurity and poor governance, his stance against violence and crime offers a much-needed ray of hope. His calls for a united front against abductions and criminality have been echoed by citizens not just in Burkina Faso, but across the continent. People are looking for leadership that listens, understands, and acts in their best interests. His advocacy for community-based solutions to insecurity, where citizens are empowered to be part of the solution rather than passive observers, resonates deeply. This grassroots approach is vital in Africa, where local knowledge and community solidarity are powerful tools for addressing problems. Traoré's leadership is seen as a model of what's possible when a leader truly prioritizes the welfare of their people over personal gain. His approach contrasts sharply with the often impersonal, top-down leadership that is prevalent in many African nations. The question now becomes, how does his leadership philosophy compare to other leaders on the continent, particularly Kenya's President Ruto? For Traoré, leadership isn't about amassing power or wealth. It's about service, serving the people and putting their needs first. He believes in leading from the front, not from behind a desk or a security detail. His approach to leadership is deeply rooted in the principles of community engagement, safety, and empowerment. To him, a leader is someone who is actively involved in the day-to-day lives of their citizens, understanding their challenges, and working alongside them to overcome obstacles. He emphasizes the importance of a leader being visible, present, and accessible to the people. His leadership philosophy challenges traditional notions of power and sets a new precedent for how leaders should interact with their people. It's a stark contrast to the leadership styles often seen in other African nations, where leaders can be distant, focusing more on maintaining political power than on addressing the needs of the people. Now, let's shift the focus to Kenya and examine how the leadership of President William Ruto compares to Traoré's. In stark contrast to Traoré's approach, Kenya has been facing significant challenges under the leadership of President William Ruto. Despite Ruto's promises of change, rising crime rates, corruption, and mismanagement have become major concerns for many Kenyans. People feel increasingly disconnected from their leaders, as Ruto's administration has struggled to address the underlying issues affecting the country. Corruption scandals have plagued Ruto's government, with reports of misallocation of public funds and failure to address systemic problems within the security forces. The government's inability to provide security and stability has led many to question whether Ruto is truly in touch with his people's needs. This growing discontent has only fueled the desire for a new model of leadership, one that resonates more deeply with the realities on the ground. But how do Kenyans feel about their leadership right now, and what is fueling their frustration? Kenyans are frustrated. The people's faith in their government is waning as crime continues to rise, and corruption scandals emerge at every turn. There's a palpable sense of disillusionment, with many citizens feeling abandoned by their leaders. In Nairobi, Mombasa, and rural regions alike, people are calling out for a change, yearning for leadership that acknowledges their struggles and actively works to make their lives better. They are looking for someone who understands their pain and isn't afraid to make tough decisions. And it's not just about security. Kenya's economic struggles, healthcare issues, and educational shortcomings have left people questioning if their leaders have the right priorities. The situation in Kenya has prompted comparisons to other African countries, especially to the leadership in Burkina Faso. So, how does Traoré's leadership compare to Ruto's in terms of addressing the real issues that affect the people? When comparing Traoré's leadership to Ruto's, the differences are stark. Traoré's hands-on, people-first approach stands in sharp contrast to Ruto's more top-down style. While Traoré actively engages with citizens, prioritizes their security, and leads with humility, Ruto's leadership has been criticized for its detachment and inability to address the core issues facing Kenyans. Traoré's focus on empowering citizens and making them part of the solution is something that many Kenyans wish Ruto would embrace. As Kenya continues to grapple with rising crime and insecurity, the question remains: can Ruto adopt a more engaged and transparent leadership style, similar to Traoré's? Or will his administration continue to falter under the weight of its shortcomings? And how has Traoré managed to bring about positive change in Burkina Faso, despite these challenges? Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has seen notable improvements in security, education, and agriculture. In stark contrast to many other African countries struggling with instability, Traoré has implemented a series of reforms that have bolstered the country's resilience. His government has successfully cracked down on insurgent groups, restored law and order in many areas, and made significant strides in improving the quality of education and healthcare. Traoré's efforts have led to increased foreign investment in Burkina Faso, particularly in agriculture and infrastructure development. These positive changes have not only improved the lives of Burkinabe citizens, but have also set a powerful example for other African nations grappling with similar challenges. So, why is progress so difficult for other African nations? For many African nations, progress remains elusive due to a combination of factors, including corruption, political instability, and poor governance. Leaders often focus on personal gain, neglecting the needs of their citizens. Additionally, external pressures from foreign powers and multinational corporations often undermine efforts to build sustainable economies. These obstacles make it difficult for many African nations to implement the reforms needed to improve security, governance, and social welfare. Without effective leadership and accountability, the cycle of poverty, violence, and underdevelopment continues, leaving many citizens disillusioned with the promises of their governments. However, the success of leaders like Traoré suggests that change is possible if the right conditions are created. Can African leaders learn from each other to break this cycle? One of the key lessons that can be learned from Traoré's success is the importance of collaboration and shared knowledge among African leaders. There is a growing need for African nations to learn from each other's successes and failures and to work together to solve common challenges like corruption, insecurity, and poor governance. By sharing resources, expertise, and strategies, African countries can create a more unified and resilient continent. Traoré's approach to leadership serves as a model for other African leaders to follow, a model that is rooted in service to the people, transparency, and a commitment to long-term development. But what about the people of Africa? What role do they play in this? The role of African citizens in shaping their future cannot be overstated. While leadership is essential, change cannot happen without the active involvement of the people. Citizens must hold their leaders accountable, demand better governance, and be part of the solution to the continent's challenges. Collective action, whether through peaceful protests, civic engagement, or grassroots movements, can drive the change needed to improve security, governance, and social welfare. When citizens unite for a common cause, they can create a powerful force for positive change that no leader can ignore. What then are the next steps for Africa to secure a better future? Looking ahead, Africa must take bold steps to secure a brighter future. This involves not only strengthening leadership and governance, but also fostering collaboration among African nations. Leaders must prioritize the well-being of their citizens, tackle corruption, and ensure that resources are used for the benefit of the people. Citizens must also play an active role in demanding better governance and participating in decision-making processes. By working together, Africa can overcome its challenges and create a future of peace, prosperity, and opportunity for all. So, why have we taken you through this journey of leadership, insecurity, and the bold stance of Ibrahim Traoré? The answer is simple: because Africa's future and the security of its citizens depend on leaders who are willing to stand up, take action, and hold each other accountable. Traoré's message isn't just a critique of President Ruto's leadership. It's a call to all African leaders to prioritize the safety and well-being of their people. At the core of this discussion lies a pressing question that has yet to be answered: who is willing to take the bold steps necessary to secure a safer, more stable future for Africa? When we examine the crisis of abductions in Africa, whether it's in Kenya, Burkina Faso, or elsewhere, we realize the continent is at a crossroads. The leadership of African nations, as we have seen through the contrast between President Traoré's actions and President Ruto's struggles, plays a pivotal role in determining whether the tide will turn. The reason we have explored this story in such detail is not to merely outline the problem, but to highlight the urgency and the need for a shift in how African leaders approach governance, security, and the welfare of their citizens. Ibrahim Traoré's message is a wake-up call to President Ruto and every leader across Africa. The time for inaction, the time for lip service, is over. The level of violence, insecurity, and political failure in many African countries cannot be ignored any longer. The abduction crisis, in particular, has reached a point where it threatens the very fabric of society. The people of Africa are suffering, and their pain cannot be met with empty promises or vague assurances. In this context, Traoré's stand against such violence is more than just about Burkina Faso. It is a challenge to all of Africa's leaders to reassess their approach to governance, security, and the future of their people. As we return to the main point of this discussion, the call to end abductions, it becomes clear why Ibrahim Traoré's message is so vital. It is not just a plea for Kenya to act. It is a call for all of Africa to recognize that the time for passive leadership has passed. The people of Africa deserve more than empty promises. They deserve leaders who will take action, who will engage with them, listen to their needs, and work tirelessly to ensure their safety and prosperity. Traoré's challenge to Ruto is the first step in a broader movement, a movement that could redefine the nature of leadership in Africa for generations to come. Do you think Ruto will listen to Traoré? Will Africa ever be safe? If leaders like Ruto can't make Africa safe, why are they in power anyway? Let us know in the comment section. Do you think the time to take control has come? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.